Hey. Feeling it. Feeling it tonight. Good stuff. Well, I welcome you aboard for a Tuesday night. We'll see how long of a Tuesday night it's going to be. I think it might only be a little bit past, hopefully we can get close to 90 minutes. But then we got some meetings and stuff over here. I appreciate you. It's going to be a little bit of a tailored band schedule, production schedule now, because our guitarist Tom has had to relocate. I think I mentioned this. Has had to relocate into the depths, the deepness of Long Island for the summer. Obviously, can't expect anybody to come up here, for Tuesday nights, at least every week. So we got to talk about when our streams are going to be, what we're going to do remotely with the other members of the band. So a little bit of organization there. Still, I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing all right. Today I had my chest x-ray. Went in at 8 o'clock this morning. And turns out everything is okay with my lungs. Now I just got it. Now I booked myself. Well, I'll see when the appointment is. Hopefully I can get in tomorrow. An appointment with the ENT. Want her to scope, see what the hell's going on in there, in the throat. Because it got, maybe I've got acid reflux. Or I don't know what the hell it is. I'll take some apple cider vinegar when I get home, see if it stops the coughing. I don't know. But at least it's not the lungs. So we'll see what the hell goes on over there. Anyway, welcome to the show. It's good to have you here. And I am looking forward to whatever we got going on tonight. It's a little bit of a mix. So thank you to my sponsors on the affiliates page, including, chief among them, BlueMonsterPrep.com. Just call them for some prep planning. They're great people to have a focusing conversation with things like that about, and use promo code Frankly for all things over there. A big mix of stuff tonight, but we'll get to them all in turn. Tomorrow night, I think I still have Kathy O'Brien coming on. We're going to talk about Danny Casolaro a little bit because she had personal memories with him. And I also want to get into a few other things with whatever time we have with her on the 16th. That is Thursday. Jay Gulanello will be in here again. And then on Friday, the 17th, I got to see if some of the guys from the old Little League team are going to be showing up. I got to get in touch with them. Watch them all be like, nah, coach, we can't come by. Sorry, we're busy. I can see myself getting ghosted like that by a bunch of kids. Well, they're not kids anymore. I can see myself getting ghosted like that. We'll see what happens, though. Maybe they'll actually, maybe they'll stick to the schedule. We'll see. All right, and that's that. Should be good stuff. I don't know what we're going to do next Monday. Next Monday, the 20th, day before the wedding, we got to do something special because I'll be off for pretty much the rest of the week. Probably drop in on that Wednesday from home in some capacity or another, but still, I am excited that Ben Davison is coming back on May 29th. Working on a few other people here too. And yeah, got some really, really great things going on, especially with topics and call-in topics and all that stuff. So welcome to the Tuesday night show. Let us get into the weeds a little bit, shall we? There we go. First one up in the grab bag. Let's see. Okay, so this is a little bit what we're going to be talking about tonight in one respect. Now, we were talking about the dodo bird, Michael Cohen, being in court this week, and Jonathan Turley talked about him in a New York Post article that I would love to just throw out there for a second. Mr. Fix-It, Michael Cohen, bombs on the stand after no new evidence to convict Trump. Michael Cohen apparently wants a reality show, but if his testimony on Monday is any indication, reality is about to sink in for not just Cohen, but the prosecutors and the court. In stoking interest in his own appearance, the former Donald Trump counselor promised the public that they should be prepared to be surprised. Thus far, however, Cohen has offered nothing new, and more importantly, nothing to make the case for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Look at the look at the court painting of Cohen. He literally looks like he opened the Ark of the Covenant and had his soul sucked out of him. That's a good one. Just before he took the stand, the New York Post revealed that Cohen had been peddling a reality show called The Fixer. Of course he has. Of course he has. Including working with Colin Whalen, who helped create Joe Exotic, Tiger's Lies, and Cover Up. Whalen appears interested in staying within that genre. The Cohen pitch came with a cheesy promo video in which he promised viewers, "I am your fixer." What a dodo. What a dodo bird. He'll go the way of the dodo bird as well. Anyway, a little bit more on that on the other side of the intro, but take a listen to this. Hedge fund boss loses legal fight over 2,364 silver bars found in a World War II shipwreck. An undersea exploration company, again with found treasure, found treasure. An undersea exploration company backed by a top hedge fund boss in the United Kingdom lost a major legal fight over the salvage of $40 million worth of silver bars from the wreck of a ship lost to Japanese submarine in World War II. On Wednesday, Bloomberg reported that, this is last Wednesday, Bloomberg reported that the UK's Supreme Court ruled that the South African government could declare state immunity in a suit by hedge fund chief Paul Marshall's Argentum Exploration Limited. Argentum Exploration argued in court that it was owed a substantial salvage fee and wanted a court to fix an award. However, the judges were informed that the two sides had agreed to a settlement. Here's more from Bloomberg. The South African government had argued that it not only still owns the silver, but insists that it shouldn't have to submit to the lawsuit at all. The Supreme Court judge agreed, saying that the silver was non-commercial cargo and the government was entitled to immunity. The ruling overturned two prior court decisions, with a judge previously saying that the government had probably forgotten about the bullion. UK companies' house filings, the record said that Marshall controls Argentum. So in 1942, the SS Tilawa was sailing from Mumbai on its way to Durban, South Africa, when two torpedoes from an Imperial Japanese Navy submarine sunk the passenger cargo ship. On board were 2,364 bars of silver destined for South African mint. For 7 decades, the ship resided more than 2.5 kilometers below the surface of the Indian Ocean until Marshall's Exploration Company discovered it. In the markets, Bloomberg Precious Metal Subindex shows a multi-decade cup and handle bullish formation on the issue. So, there goes again. It's one of those things where you wanted it so much. Why didn't you go get it? I think if anybody goes out of the way, especially going over 2 kilometers under the water to get something out of there, there is a finder's fee that should just be like common courtesy. I think any nation on earth would like an extra 2,300 pounds of silver. But they just don't want to go get it. Somebody got it for you. Pay them their due. At least it's a little bit more than you had before. Anyway, always come in contact with stories like that. GameStop is on the rise again, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. We shared a pretty interesting video on the Quite Frankly Telegram on it. It's about 7 minutes long. I don't know enough about it to play it here and comment on it, not unless I had somebody in the room that could add some really good insight to it all. But as a viewer, I enjoyed it. I got the gist of what's going on. Just as far as how, little people who understand how to just ignore the media, ignore all the financial propaganda and stuff like that, to buy and hold and really take it to big financial houses and screwing up short sellers and all that stuff. How it's happening again, and of course how corrupt the whole damn system is. How it's all that I remember when Robinhood suspended all buying and selling or something like that, like literally took out all the option for people to to continue to go in there and fight because they wanted to make sure that all their friends didn't lose hundreds of billions of dollars. And hundreds of billions of dollars probably were lost. And who knows how it could have been covered up or, forgotten about. I don't know. I don't know. But very compelling. And even for the novice, the financial novice, you should definitely go check out that video. It's the second to last thing I posted, or we posted. I think John Carroll put it in there because I didn't. It's in the Telegram right before the watch live links of this show here tonight. So go check it out. All right, here's one last thing for the opening. It is from ABC New York. Now, you heard about that portal that they put in New York, right? That connected New York City and Dublin. Well, it's getting shut down. What do you know? What do you know? It's getting shut down. What the hell do they think was going to happen? The portal that connects NYC to Dublin is shutting down on Tuesday to address inappropriate behavior. That's right. A new art installation in New York City. I don't know why you would call it art. It's just it's just a FaceTime call. A new art installation in New York City that transports viewers more than 3,000 miles away to Dublin will temporarily shut down Tuesday to address some bad behavior. So where are they going to put it? At the top of the Empire State Building? Where are they going to put it? How are you going to address temporarily until we figure out what's going on here? If you're going to put it in front of human beings, this is just what it's going to be. The installation, called the Portal, features two identical sculptures with a visual live stream connecting the two cities. It was unveiled last Wednesday next to the famed Flatiron Building. It allows visitors to watch and interact with each other and has already attracted tens of thousands of visitors. Although it has been less than a week since its debut, organizers realize that there's a problem amid reports of inappropriate behavior, such as people flashing body parts or putting curse words on screen. Yeah, I know somebody from Dublin held up their phone, and it had a picture of the Twin Towers burning. Actually, the first tower burning and the second tower about to be impacted by the silhouette of the incoming black plane. The shadowy second plane. That's what they flashed back at in New York. And of course, everybody in New York didn't know how to react. They're like, "Oh, that's low." But that's all forgotten about too. Instances of inappropriate behavior have now come from very small minority of portal visitors and have been amplified on social media. If it's very small minority, then what's the problem? Dublin City Council said in a statement it was looking for ways to come up with a solution to the bad behavior while keeping the portal open so the good intentions behind it can continue. On the New York side, the Flatiron Nomad Partnership said that there are a set of protocols in place since the launch, including 24/7 on-site security and barriers to prevent public from stepping onto the portal. They don't actually want you to go through it because it's an active portal. If you actually go through the screen, you will actually end up in Dublin. The Portal's team and our partners in Dublin are working on additional solutions, including software updates to limit such behavior appearing on the live stream, additional on-site staffing, barriers to prevent people from stepping onto the Dublin portal, and educational tools on how to best interact with the portal on both sides. In order to implement these solutions, the portal will be turned off for a few days, starting at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, and will be back on the end of the week. The portals were initially set to remain open 24/7 for the next 6 months through the fall. Listen, I'm just going to say this. I'm finally getting around. Lauren and I, hopefully, when I get home tonight, she's got enough energy in her bones to watch the last episode of 3 of the Woodstock 99 documentary. We finally got around to watching it all these years later, and it's been incredible. Didn't go there again, like what we were talking about with Matt and Fleckus on Friday. There's like we're talking about generational divides and things like that, and I said that there's probably about a span of 5 to 7 years, which obviously separates us from Gen X altogether, but there's about there's a period of 5 to 7 years that really put us on the outskirts of some really interesting things around here, especially culturally when it came to venues just in our own town, that we missed out on some really awesome shows. And Woodstock 99 being one of those things. If I was only 5 years older, I would have been, 18, 19 years old in 1999. Probably would have found a way to go, especially since Metallica played there. But man, I'm happy I didn't. I'm happy I didn't, only because of the heat. Only because of the heat and being locked in and all. You can go. They go to great lengths to explain all the conditions that led to the disastrous end of that weekend in '99. But the scorching heat, the filth, the price gouging, and being locked in an airstrip. Which the fact that it never really dawned on me, because I remember watching this from home. I remember watching it from home. And I remember it ended in disaster and fires and all that stuff, but I didn't really get the context. Obviously, all these years later, they put it into a really well done documentary. You're hearing from the people that ran it, and so they give you the generational slippery slope thing there too. That this is just a different group of people, and of course, the bad conditions over there, and the fact that they couldn't leave is just something altogether. But I just have to say, what it really comes down to is that we were already completely indistinguishable from the human beings that attended the first Woodstock 30 years prior. Completely indistinguishable creatures. Still of the same species, but completely different. All right, we talk about generational slippery slope stuff and all that, discussing a lot into it. Hey, did you see the gas pump video today? Yeah, I won't be playing that tonight. The gas pump video. So, yeah, in 1999, as I'm watching this, I'm just saying, like, wow, yeah, no, it was already a tinderbox situation. And now here we are, 2009, 2019, plus 5, 25 years later, or whatever the hell it is. And man, oh man, there's no wonder you can't put this in New York. You can't give this to the public. It would have to be under the strictest of social conditions and security. You can't. It's done. You can't trust the modern public to this anymore, especially not in a city. It's over. That day is gone. All right. We live in the era of the gas pump video. That's what it is. We live in the gas pump video era. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm so happy to have you here on this Tuesday night. It might be a short one, but it's all right because we're together. BRB.
Excuse me, are you a banana?
No.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Yes, and as I'm sitting here getting all my stuff together, I realize unrecognizable is probably not indistinguishable. I should say that there is absolutely nothing that links 1999 from 1969 together. Almost two different species. So I misspoke on that one. I should have found a better antonym. I should have found an antonym. So that's what we got there. Here, look at this. I've got this. And by the way, send in a super chat tonight at quitefranklysuperchat.com. All of them gets you in the running for my version, my book club version of The Robe. You get to go and read that for yourself and follow along with all the episodes of that book club, which will be made live in a couple of weeks. And you're also going to get a bottle of Finish Jet Dry liquid for your dishwasher. There you have it. So, quite frankly, superchat.com. Take a look at this. Here is a colorized video. I'm sure you've seen this before. These are people seeing a camera for the first time in Victorian England in 1901. Look at that. 1901. 123 years ago. Look at that. Portal? A portal into the future, perhaps. A portal into the future. I don't know what else to say. Here's another one for you. This is 1899 in New York City. 1899, New York City. Everybody. Now, maybe a kid, if you left the camera running long enough, maybe there would be a kid that would thumb their nose at the camera eventually, but no one was going to helicopter their dick around. It's just a different it's just a different species, essentially. So yeah. And I saw, there's some like OnlyFans girls flashing their tits and this and that and taunting each other over terrorist attacks. Anyway, here's another one for you. And this actually brings up a little bit of a side topic that we can talk about tonight when you call in, because I'm going to create some first half call-in space as well. Take a look at this. Since I was looking at all the old footage. This is the earliest born person ever to be captured on film. That's Pope Leo the 13th. This film was taken in 1896, and he was born in 1810. Okay? This is 1896, and he's born in 1810. That makes him the earliest born person ever captured on, film, the moving image. At least that's what I've heard before. Maybe there's somebody else out there who was that nobody knows their name. Anyway, the reason why I bring this up, I love shit like this. I really, really love stuff like this. I watch it all the time. But, that's 1810. He was 16 years old when John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died. 16. So as a side topic for all of you guys, I'd like to hear from you. Who is the earliest born person you ever knew? I know this may be very, I don't know, it might be a long shot, but we do have some real elder statesmen in the audience. We have a couple of centenarians and all that out there. So if you guys, it's not out of the realm of possibility that people in their late 70s, their 80s, or their 90s could have known a Civil War veteran. I went and I had to go check. I said, when was the last Civil War veteran, what was the official, the authenticated last Civil War veteran to die? And it was a man named Albert Woolson, who was a Union Army drummer boy, and he died in August of 1956. So it is possible for someone in their late 70s, their 80s, their 90s to have known someone who fought in the Civil War. So, just saying, that would be a side topic. Call in and tell us the earliest born person you ever knew, okay? And it does not count to say I was held by, like a picture of you with a great-great-grandparent, but someone that you were actually able to have memory of and maybe even talk to at least once in a meaningful way. All right. Okay. So here we go. I want to jump into this story because this is just something else. So you heard, we were cracking some jokes about Stormy Daniels going to court. And then I was showed, and today I was looking all over for the transcript, and Doc Keck was able to find it for me. Did you know that she went to you want to talk about just the actress? She went to the She went to the courthouse with a bulletproof vest on. Stuff like that. It's just something that actresses would do, give themselves a little bit more importance. But her testimony went very, very strange and actually peeked into the world of the paranormal. So I'm going to read you a couple of paragraphs from this thing on the Hill, and then I have the transcript I want to read a little bit to you as well. Take a listen to this. From the Hill, I see dead people. Alvin Bragg's case against Trump goes paranormal. I see dead people. Before this week, the claim was most associated with the 9-year-old character Cole Sear from the 1990 film The Sixth Sense. But now it's one of the talents claimed by former adult film actress Stormy Daniels in her bizarre testimony in Manhattan during former President Trump's trial. It turns out that speaking to the dead was one of the few relevant things Daniels had to offer in the case, which is now on a collision course with a motion for acquittal before the case even goes to the jury. The Daniels testimony will live in infamy in the annals of criminal justice. For 2 days, she offered lurid and completely irrelevant details whose only possible purpose was to humiliate Trump. Admitting that she was coached by the prosecution in her testimony, it was clear that she was there not to win a case but to win an election. Judge Juan Merchan allowed this legal burlesque to unfold in his courtroom, later blaming defense counsel who had vociferously objected to her appearance and the scope of the examination. The cross-examination was devastating. It shattered her laughable claim that she had not really been seeking money in shaking Trump down for a non-disclosure agreement, a claim contradicted by her own former lawyer. Daniels has also revealed that she has spoken with the dead. Okay, she has spoken with the dead, and that a ghost had once held her boyfriend underwater in a bathtub. She also said that she lived in a haunted house only to discover that the spirit haunting it was a large possum. Okay? It was actually a large possum. In a case based on, which it could be. I'll give her that. They might be capable of that. In a case based on a dead misdemeanor and a rapidly falling heart rate on a manufactured felony, one can understand the appeal of witnesses who can speak for the dead. Indeed, Daniels' graphic testimony may prove the moral high point of this trial, since serial perjurer and disbarred attorney Michael Cohen is scheduled to testify on Monday. And of course, that happened and didn't go too well. So, again, what's the big event that will come next, since this hasn't a chance in hell of really doing anything? And if by some chance, just by willpower alone, they push it through, think about how this would survive on appeal. So, anyway, listen to this. And thank you again to Doc Keck for sending me this transcript and actually finding the page that it all starts on. Here we go. Here we go. And do you plan to continue to make money off of the selling of your story? The lawyer is asking Stormy. She says, I plan to continue to do my job and to fund my extraordinary legal bills. Well, you know what? Then stop. Stop breaking NDAs. Stop violating NDAs and stop whoring yourself out and losing. You can stop this. It's just one of those things. Is it legal bills or is it a media bill? Now, you could look at it and say, well, that's just, she owes Trump this, $300,000 here, owes this person for her lawyer. But, it's almost as if this is the price she's paying for television time. That's really what it comes down to, because anybody else would have just shut their mouths and not made a big deal about this. But this is the only way that a sagging harlot would be able to give herself a little bit of, financial viability this late in her career. Anyway, I plan to continue to do my job and to fund my extraordinary legal bills. And there is another way you are making money now, which is by telling people that you have the ability to communicate with ghosts and dead people. Is that right? She says, I work on a television show called, well, the title had changed, but it used to be called Spooky Babes. It used to be called Spooky Babes. Used to be called, and then it was changed. Did it ever get to television? Oh, so watch out for season 1 of Spooky Babes. Well, my question was, are you making money by telling people that you have the ability to communicate with ghosts and dead people? She answers, well, I am making money. Well, I haven't made any money yet, but the idea is to make money on a television show about the paranormal and UFOs and the unexplained. Man, anybody out there with a UFO, paranormal, strictly paranormal, unexplained podcast, just make sure you do something really, really special every time. Like hats off to people like Tony Merkel at the confessionals, people who really, really go in and give you something fun to watch and bring you compelling stories. Because for somebody like Stormy Daniels to say, you know what, I can do paranormal. Why not? Why not? It's not like you have to prove anything. And in many cases, it's a point. All you got to do is retell ghost stories and do it consistently, and you'll eventually grow some subscribers, especially if you have your tits hanging out. Anyway, well, you have made a show and podcast claiming that you can speak to dead people, right? She said, I've been on a lot of podcasts. Well, my question, which podcast are you referring to? She asked. Are you saying you have not made a show or a podcast telling people that you can speak to dead people? Yes, we are talking about paranormal, yes. And you also claim that you lived in a house. Come on, damn it. Hold on. Lived in a house. Hold on, let me go back one. Make sure that we're on the same one. Yeah, you lived in a house in good. There you go. Fine. That you lived in a house in New Orleans. A cold rising sun. That was haunted. And that the spirits are in the house attacked your boyfriend and held him underwater. Is that correct? She said, yes. The house was and has some very unexplained activity. Oh, you can tell it is a banger of a podcast. The house has some very unexplained activity. I'd say your boyfriend was held underwater in the bathtub. A little bit of unexplained activity going on in this house, I'd say. Yes, so we brought in experts, people to measure the electromagnetic fields, the religious experts, scientists, people to check for gas leaks. So yeah, it was a lot of interesting unexplained activity. So I created a whole entire show. And then Miss Neckel says, Your Honor, a lot of activity was completely debunked as, a giant opossum that was under the house, for instance. So the giant opossum was using its demon face powers to keep her boyfriend under the water of their porcelain tub. And other things, I don't know. Maybe it was gnawing on the power lines. It's whatever. Anyway, Miss Nichols says, Your Honor, Miss Nichols, Your Honor, I move to strike all of that now and ask that the witness be instructed to answer the question. The court, no, overruled. And so my question, they continue. So my question was that you claim that you lived in a house in New Orleans that was haunted and that spirits attacked your boyfriend. Is that correct? Yes, she said. And then you say your boyfriend attacked you, right? Yes, she said. And isn't it a fact that you were the one who attacked your boyfriend? Objection, Miss Hoffinger said. The court sustained. Counselor, we discussed this. Miss Neckeles says, no, we did not. Not about this, Your Honor. Please move on, the court says. Miss Neckeles says, but Your Honor, this is this is not the same thing. Please move on, the court says. And shortly thereafter, your boyfriend moved out, is that right? Define shortly, said Stormy. Miss Hoffinger, objection, Your Honor. Sustained!
Son of a bitch!
Well, didn't your boyfriend question your sanity? Objection!
Sustained!
And you've been making money off of your claim that you are a medium and that you can talk to the dead. Is that right? I'm making money I'm part of a ghost hunting team that we go on locations. Yes, she goes locations. Can you imagine Stormy Daniels showing up to your house? We need access to the basement immediately. What a fucking clown show. Oh, man. I wish this was free, but it's not. We pay for it all. You say, this is some quality entertainment. Quality entertainment. I still wouldn't pay for it if I had the choice, but we're paying for it. A lot of my fans, and you read tarot cards for clients, is that correct? Yes. A lot of my fans like to do things called high tea and tarot with Stormy Daniels. We read tarot cards. And you charge people for this? Yes. And you claim to be able to speak to people's dead relatives, right? I make them agree that it's all entertainment, right? And that's what you charge them for? Yes, entertainment. Well, she's an entertainer. But you tell people that that's what you can do, right? To speak with their dead relatives, correct? Objection. Asked and answered.
Overruled, bitch.
You can answer. Yes. Yes. And that's what you have made money off of, right? One of the ways, yes. I can see what you're talking about here. Can't say it's entertainment, but also tell people I'm actually talking to your dead grandparents. All right, so now before you start making a living talking with dead people and selling your story about President Trump, were you an actress, a porn star actress, right? Yes. And you've acted in porn movies and 200 sex films, right? Including compilations. Oh. So that you see that's where it went. That's where it went. I can't believe that this went paranormal. I can't. Just goes to show. Just goes to show. Can you imagine Stormy Daniels walking through the woods? And of course, it's like that classic cutaway line. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So someone cuts in the creepy music. Little walkie-talkie action going on there. Guys, something is definitely out here. We'll be right there. Okay. Oh, I would love... Did you call it barfly paranormal? Barfly. Stormy should just show up to different towns all throughout the United States, go to the local watering hole, and ask just random bar regulars there. A true barfly, men, women, people who are they spend the entire day at the bar drinking. And you should just invite these random people to go investigate haunted houses. I think it would be very entertaining. Because what would they know? They wouldn't know how to use any of the equipment. They'd be just as qualified as Stormy. And there you go. Yeah, we'll really get to the bottom of the afterlife with Stormy Daniels on the case. Hey, speaking of possums, when I did my coffee stream earlier on today, I told you guys we were talking about the possum that has now moved into the new possum that moved into the neighborhood after Matt evicted Winston. That's the first possum from last year that moved in underneath the porch. And Lauren named him Winston. And I said I couldn't remember what she named this latest one, because sometimes it'll show up on the ring cam. And say, look. And I'll watch it over and over again just to soak it all in and just kind of immerse myself a little bit. Look at him with disdain. And I showed Lauren, and she gave him a name, and we couldn't remember it during the coffee stream today. I called her up on FaceTime, and she couldn't remember it. And about an hour later, she remembered it. It was Humphrey. Winston and now Humphrey, which I think is just very appropriate. I said, damn, you know how to name an opossum. You really do, Lauren. You know how to name those damn things. You really do. All right, when we come back, we're going to take your calls. Who was the person, the earliest born person you ever knew? And then it's just open lines for whatever. Anything you have to say about this, any kind of a joke you want to crack. If you want to tell a joke to the audience, make it a snappy joke. Whatever the hell it is, give us your best joke. It's Tuesday night. We're going to take open lines until 8 o'clock. And then after 8 o'clock, after the intermission, I don't know, we'll do a little bit of bonus before I have to get into the other room. So, 914-200-0269. Warm up those phones. Let's get them all warmed up. We'll see you back here in an instant.
And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Howdy, friend. You looking for a message board? Go to quitefrankly.tv and enter the forum. Engage with official show topic threads or start your own thread. Get signed up. It's that easy. And it's not Reddit, so don't sweat it. For the forum and so much more, it's quitefrankly.tv. Yeehaw.
Okay. Back. Let's take a call. The first one up is the magical chocolate man. What's going on? Yes, Cacao, Justin Polgar. How are you, Justin?
Greetings, Frank and the Franklies.
It's good to have you on.
I'm sifting through a river of chocolate at the moment.
That's right. Don't let Augustus Gloop get anywhere near it.
I passed him like minutes ago. The guy's a slow swimmer.
That's anyway.
He's suffering. He's weighted down by one of the 7 deadly sins.
Oh my gosh! Stuck in one of your chocolate tubes. Anyway, it's good to hear from you, man. What's on your mind?
I have an update from Throwback. I know we were talking about old videos, and that was getting my mind pedaling about my great grandfather, and whose name is Frank, by the way. And but I couldn't kick this memory of this last weekend on Mother's Day when I actually battled 2 third graders, and I was like, I have to call in about this.
Well, how old were you? How old were you?
I know this just happened like on Mother's Day, like a couple of days ago.
Okay, so go. Let's hear about this.
I just found myself in it was one second grader and one fourth grader, so I'm just going to average the 2 of them plus Orion. So it was like 2.5 third graders, and it gave me a little taste of what of the challenge that would be. But I'm confident now that I could take on at least 200.
At least 200.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with the intimidation factor. They're not ready for an adult to flip out, like to start slapping my chest. And I mean, I was just like, oh, if you guys want to play, let's play. It ended badly though, because I body slammed one of them and his foot hit the window seal, and then he cried. And I was like, well, I shouldn't have messed with a 3rd-degree black belt, bro.
It's just like, what are you doing? If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Get out of the kitchen, kid.
It was an important moment for Orion to see his father step into a leadership role.
Yeah. So, but does he understand? Was he trying to coordinate with the other 2 to kind of take you down, or?
Oh yeah, they were yelling "decapitate him." I was like, where do you even learn these words? Orion, cover your ears. And Orion was, hit him in the nuts. And I was like, no, that's off limits.
Wow.
Of course, in the real, they had pillows, which are weapons. So
okay.
It was a little bit modified from the prompt, but I found myself organically in the situation, and I wanted to share with you and the audience that it's easier than you think.
All right.
These are not like tame children. These are like wild hippie forest children. Just so you know.
All right, so then maybe that's one thing that people brought up in all of the third grader battle scenarios was it depends on where the third graders are from. Are they the hippie forest children, or are we talking tough inner city kids that are already fighting 18-year-olds daily for their food?
Different kind of tough, Frank. Different kind of tough because these kids are like catching all kinds of they may have like rolled around in poison oak earlier that day.
Oh.
They don't care. They like jump off trees and rocks and, different type of tough.
Little Tarzans.
Little Tarzans. One of them with like long dreadlocks, so that's a little bit of I don't know. He's a little unpredictable, that one.
Jeez.
I think that one may grow up to be a good fighter.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you for this. We needed it. You're the first person to ever call in on that subject that had a little bit of a sample to report on. Everything else was just hypothetical, and you actually got to throw a few around. So thank you for the call, Justin, and I hope you have a good one.
It was my pleasure. Bless you, Frank. Bless the Franklies, and you just keep on doing that lovely thing you're doing. Yes, and congrats on the anniversary. Oh,
thank you so much. Thank you. It would have been great to have you swing by for coffee if you're in the area, but they're swinging from those California redwoods over there. The Polgars. That's Justin of Yes Cacao. Go check them out on the affiliates page. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. And all right. 740, you're on the air. Go ahead. What do you got for us?
Hey, Frank.
Hey.
I've never made any money talking to the paranormal either, but to the oldest person, my great grandma was 98 years old when I was 10 years old. So that would have been, say I'm 40. Freaking, I don't know, do the math. She was born in like 1903. She talked a lot about growing up in the Depression, and I remember cleaning out her house. And boy, have mercy. What's that?
What? No, nothing. I'm waiting. Have mercy.
Dude, the Great Depression kids.
Yeah.
They knew what was up, and I kind of look like, I'm kind of planning my life around that now, and I know a lot of people that listen to you, and we're kind of all doing the same, dude.
Hey, well, I was raised by those a couple of Depression babies. I mean, my grandparents were born in 1919. My mother's parents, they were both born in 1919. I knew my two great grandparents on my father's side a little bit, but I think they were both dead by the time I was 6 or 7 or something like that. And my grandfather was born in 1900. And thankfully, we have a lot of really awesome VHS videotapes of him being interviewed by some family members. So I have some really
that's cool.
Yeah, I have some great family history as told by them on tape, which I should probably get and take a couple of clips and do a little show and tell or something. But with my grandparents,
yeah, that's killer.
Those I know the Depression mindset for sure. I mean, it was my mother's parents that if I was seen dumping even a few eyedroppers worth of leftover cereal milk down, how dare you? Dump it. If you didn't want any of that, my grandfather, give that to me, and he would just slurp it down himself. Nothing went to waste. I told you that my grandfather was also the one, especially in the summertime, if they wanted to have a salad, they would never weed whack or do anything to the dandelions. They'd pick the dandelion, would eat the dandelion salad.
Yeah, dandelion salad is freaking awesome. It's great for you, and yeah, bro, that's a whole nother story.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for the memories. Thank you for that. You got a lot coming up for me now.
All right. Well, God bless you, brother. Have a good night.
See you later. Take care. Those dandelion. I wasn't ready for them. They washed the dandelions. We went out there, took them out of the driveway, whatever. They weren't using like Roundup or anything like that, so you can just pick them anywhere. Wash them down. And they just got a little bit of vinegar and a little bit of olive oil. And I remember them being bitter. bitter. But I would like that these days. Only thing is that these days I would never eat any of the dandelions that grow in my neighborhood. So maybe one day I'll grow them in a little pot, because they come up quick. Yeah. 908, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, hi, Frank. Okay, my grandma, I'm 76 now, and my grandma, my father's mother, was born, I had to figure it out, 1872.
Nice.
And I had an aunt who was my father was the youngest of 5, and his sister was about, she was born in the 1800s too, about the 1890s.
Were they already were they already in the country?
Yes, my mother's parents came over at the end of the 1800s from Russia, from the Ukraine. But my grandmother, she died she was almost 94 in April of 1966, and I was 18 then, so I remember it a lot.
Now, there's the thing there. You know, my grandfather died when I was about 17, and I always say, I wish I was more conscious of all the better things to ask, and the conversations I never had, because I was thinking like a 16, 17-year-old, just didn't really care. Did you have any presence of mind to ask questions about the late 19th century?
Not as many as I would have liked to, but my father used to like to tell stories. He was born in 1907, and he always told this story about when he grew up in Derby, Connecticut, and they have a lot of hills here, you know, and not too far from New York State. And there was this crooked-ass hill, and one time he took a sled down the hill and went right under a trolley car, and some woman came to my grandmother's house, and she was telling him about this kid that almost lost his life going under a trolley car, and it was my father.
Oh, didn't know.
He never told her.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Good.
The crooked-ass hill, it would make you dizzy to go up and down it just in normal times. That's how hot steep it is.
Sometimes, if you get away with it without getting hurt, it's better just to keep it to yourself.
Oh, and my mother, she went to New York. She said she was in New York City when the stock market crashed. She was in her 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw the Hindenburg go over, you know, the blimp that blew up.
In the 30s, like on its last trip?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. She saw that. So that's kind of interesting. And my grandmother that lived until she was 94, she had her wits about her. She was real funny. She used to tell us funny jokes all the time. And her daughter, my father's older sister, went to finishing school.
See, you're not going to find a finish. Well, you're not going to find that.
She was living in Quebec. She was good friends with Katharine Hepburn. That was her best friend.
Well, thank you so much for the call. This is another good one. Have a great. You think about finishing school. What do we start all this with? The reason why it's an obvious bad idea to put a quote unquote portal, a nonstop broadcasting portal between two countries in New York City, because there's nobody who's been finished in New York City. Nobody. No one, absolutely none. None at all. 206, you're on the air. Who's this? Who do you got?
Hi, Frank.
Hey.
Hi, this is Kira. I'm calling from California.
How are you, Kira from California? Go ahead.
I'm good. It would be my grandmother, Nana. She was born in 1901. I was born in Ireland, and my whole family's from Ireland. And she was 16, maybe a little bit younger, and she brought messages to her uncles who were hiding in the fields from the British, and they fought in 1916 in the Irish Revolution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was a black and tans that what the British regiment were called, and I think they killed the family dog in front of her, and she was responsible for making sure they got their lunches and whatever else. But that is, so I have that history, and I have that strong freedom aspect to myself.
I was going to say,
spirit.
Grandma was a message runner for a major rebellion.
They were the original IRA.
Yeah.
Before it became what it became. And then when I went to school at Fordham, so in New York, Fordham in the Bronx. And she said, "Do you have Irish coming around there?" And I'm like, "Yes." And she said, "Don't give them any money. They're what the IRA turned into." Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Really interesting.
That is very interesting. That's a badass grandma right there.
Yeah. Yeah, she got married late, and she ran a pub outside of Dublin called the Black Swan for about, I don't know how many years. She opened it with her husband, but then he died before I was born, and she ran it maybe like 30, 40 years solo. Mm-hmm.
The Black Swan in Dublin, and that's terrific. Well, thank you for the call, Tiara. That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, it's good talking with you, Frank. Thank you so much.
Thank
Love
you.
Listening to you.
I love this call. This was one, and especially the fact that the call had a little bit of a Dublin link in there. It makes it even more appropriate. Wow. Running that's a dangerous job. Grandma was a little badass, but then again, duty to family. You want to make sure that things are good for the brothers, and that's when the troubles started. And that stretched. I mean, damn, decades. All right, let's do another call. Let's go. 321. You're on the air. Go ahead, 321.
Hi, Frank. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it. Are you calling about Stormy Daniels' paranormal activity?
Yeah, and older people too.
Go ahead.
Well, Stormy's pretty old. No, just kidding. But my mother, she's 91, okay, and still strong woman. My neighbor's 92, still have sound mind, right? I know another 92-year-old veteran drives people around. But the reality is, if I told them, our planet's being run by a handful of satanic pedophiles, pedophores, eating children, they just don't get it. So I don't know if they're, you know what I mean? They may have some history, but they've been duped too. If I told them the truth that was going on, they'd probably die.
Well,
so,
yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that. But the Stormy Daniels thing, I think they're compromised on Trump's side too. And he's saying, "Look, I'm going to give you a choice. Go out there and be a circus show and tell the truth." It's kind of like a psyop on our side too. We can use them on both sides. These people, they're all compromised. Anyway, I'll just throw that out to you.
Yeah, it's a very fair point. Like I said, it's if we weren't paying for it, I wouldn't toss it $1. But once I saw that, because most of this whole trial process, I haven't paid it any mind. You know what the hell's all about. You know what's going on. As far as the election goes, I'm becoming less and less enthusiastic about the entire damn thing. So we'll see. See what happens. But when I saw the paranormal twist, okay, well, let's just see what the hell's going on there. And I just found this so humorous. Again. All right, you know what? Let's take a really quick break. Wherever the hell you're watching, please share the show. When we get back, we're going to start with the gold pills on quitefrankly.tv. That is the main headquarters of Quite Frankly. But you don't go anywhere. That's what we're going to be doing. Coming back to do your super chats, more of your calls, and I have a couple of extras over here I'd like to throw in before we end. So thank you for being here thus far. And again, in just a second.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season.
Welcome to Intermission.
You are now entering, quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Watch Quite Frankly and stuff.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
All my fellow Franciscans.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly. Quite frankly. We'll be in the gulag with you, Frank.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Yo, what's good, Frank?
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly podcast.
I want to get a Coke. Can I get a Coke?
So everybody watch, quite frankly, with Frank.
Quite frankly. How dare you?
Okay. Welcome back to the show. Hold on, listen to this. A couple of super chats came in. Cody said the last person from the 1800s died in 2017. Can you imagine going from an 1800s, a 19th century lifestyle, to basically current times? How would your mind not break witnessing that much cultural, technological, etc., all that change? I probably would have ended it all in the 60s. It's worth considering. Not ending it all. It's worth considering just how much. It's one thing to say, little by little things change. And also, no. There's just no way to really. I mean, the acceleration is nuts between that time. Saw everything from flight, you name it. Jay Britt says, hey Frank, the oldest person I can recall meeting was my great-grandmother on my mother's side. She was born circa 1875, and I was born on her birthday. Well, what a birthday that would have been. That's great, Jay Brits. Thank you. Over on the Rumble, we got a Rumble rant from 925 Wild G. Helicopter their dick. Instantly, AT pops to mind. AT from the Gilded? Well, very quiet over there on Rumble. It's a mystery what's going on out there. All right, let's see here. Back home on quitefrankly.tv. Let's get over to the gold pills. C. Blanche, thank you so much. Sentinel says Stormy already did a strip club tour entitled Make America Horny Again in 2018 after the Avenatti episode. Really? Again, if you don't know what's behind this, then feel sorry for you. Sean Joe and C. Blanche, thank you guys and gals. Very nice to have you there, hanging with us and contributing to some thoughts of the show. I want to wish a happy birthday to a friend, and that is Bree Tagani. I was reminded that she's turning 21 today. A friend of the show, Bree Tagani, 21. Oh, man. Talk about passage of time. 21 years old. Lauren and I went out on my 21st birthday. Yes, I've told this story before. And I was with her when I ordered my first alcoholic beverage, my first legal alcoholic beverage. It was at an Applebee's in Mamaroneck, New York, which is not there anymore. And I ordered it, you guessed it, a mudslide. Because it just looked like a chocolate milk with alcohol in it. I said, I'll take a spiked chocolate milk. I think it was good. I don't know. Obviously I was drinking before that, but I said for the first legal drink, let's do something fun, shall we? Ridiculous. But that's my memory, and I got to have it with Lauren, which is the only thing that matters, really. Okay, what else do I have here? Did you see the first official King Charles portrait that was unveiled today? Take a look at this. I don't know what's worse, the gas pump video or the King Charles portrait. Look. There he is. There's a picture of it's just flushed in crimson. You have his head, and you have his sausage fingers that are, the pale complexion of flesh. Pale, fleshy complexion. And then everything else is flushed crimson. It looks like a, I don't know, it's like Ghostbusters 2. Vigil. And then there's also just a hint of, it's like a FaceTime call from hell. It's like he's FaceTiming you from hell. What the hell's going on? So strange. Anyway, that's King Charles's new portrait. And here's a little something for you, since we're talking about the passage of time and all that stuff. We've been doing that a lot lately, actually. We mentioned looking into the past tonight, staring up into a portal to the past. Might as well bring up this thing, since we were also talking about Tartaria last week. How some think that from over the last 200 years, there was a major effort across the globe to cover up the evidence of an expansive global empire, one that was mostly cultural, architectural. It wasn't like everybody had a shared culture. We weren't celebrating the same holidays. It wasn't like, yay, rah, rah, Tartaria. But evidence that perhaps there was some influence in an unspoken way. And we put input from people like Robert Sepper, anthropologist, who credited the shift away from architectural classics on things like mainly communism, since communism is a culturally sterilizing agent. But this thread is pretty interesting. It's put out there by Culture Critic on Twitter. Really nice piece on what's going on in Budapest right now. I'd like to read it to you. The most uplifting architectural revival happening today is in Budapest. The city is reclaiming its identity after decades of communist rule, and here is what's going on. Here's the before. Okay? See that kind of like brutalist? It looks like a prison, and now after. Look at the facade. Look at the outside of this. What they've done to it again. That looks stunning. It's usually the opposite. It's like the before, the after, and we get this kind of, prison hospital look. But it was so refreshing to see this pop up. They continue. And another example. Facades and much more all across the city are being brought back to life. Why is it happening? Look at this. Look how beautiful that is. That's nice. In the 19th century, Budapest became a twin capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It enshrined its lofty ambitions to be the easternmost bastion of Western civilization in architecture. Grand. What a grand sight. With the same speed the New World was building and all the elegance of Paris, Budapest became an eclectic metropolis, neo-Gothic, neo-Baroque, Renaissance revival. In World War II, Hitler used the city as a fortress against the Red Army, and this is what happened to it. Worse, the majestic castle district took the brunt of the damage. Awful. Well, that's just sad. Again, this would be, people would say, well, World War II was probably there to make sure that all this went away. After the war, the USSR placed a puppet state over Hungary and rebuilt Budapest to reflect Soviet ideals. Buildings that could have been saved were razed, and saved ones were made into a new utilitarian image. It was the new royal palace. See that? Just becomes, you can just see, just kind of sapped of all of its identity and its culture and its life. Any architecture resembling a church or museum was detestable under Khrushchev. Town planning, so-called town planning, became an excuse to raise churches and replace them with statues to the new god, communism. There's 1936, and then there's 1970. Just crap with one of those, fist in the air, marching forward kind of statues that inspire nothing but dread. Punishment through architecture happened right across communist-controlled Europe. Dresden was built from rubble by the Soviets, but in a way that made it a model city of socialism. Look at that. Dresden before and after. I guess we had a hand in that. A major one. Things could have been much worse in Budapest. More historicism was preserved than other cities because the regime couldn't always afford to tear it down. Still, brutalist blocks went up whenever opportunity arose. There's 1943, then there's 1981. Terrible. Even when they did rebuild the royal palace, unnecessary elements were ignored and the city lost its Baroque flair. The communistic disregard for the beautiful and the metaphysical meant Budapest lost its identity. The city's architecture was its cultural heartbeat. Take Budapest's majestic neo-Gothic parliament. It was designed explicitly to break from Vienna's neoclassical one, making Hungary culturally independent from the Austrian Empire. When the communist regime fell, it opened the door for change. In 2010, serious efforts to restore Budapest's flair commenced. Orban's government believes restoring architecture will lift morale, and it definitely will. It definitely will. Here's the Castle District now. It's being rebuilt to its original grandeur. Complete restoration of the area is targeting 2030, but it's a monumental task. The complex is Europe's second largest after Versailles. Wow. To go back to that, yeah, it is going to be a monumental task, but they're undertaking it, which means it'll eventually happen, which is great. Plus, they're being incredibly precise. The Lost Royal Riding Hall, for instance, was constructed exactly to the old measurements. There's 1915 and there's 1921. 2021. See, it's so great to see a culture, a country take care of itself, especially right now. This is exciting to see. Today in America, debates rage over how new federal buildings should look, with attempts to mandate that they must be traditional or neoclassical form. But why neoclassical over other styles? Well, at America's founding, Jefferson insisted architecture should uplift the nation. Washington, D.C.'s classicism showed America had the confidence to compare itself with the great empires of the past, namely Rome and Greece. When you climb the steps of the Supreme Court Roman Basilica, for example, it makes you contemplate the millennia of progress that built the legal system. And the same confidence is what built old Budapest. Today, it's looking back again. So that's the grandeur of the past. It could help it look boldly again in the future. That's terrific. From there to there. So hats off to Hungary. A little something for you guys out there. All right. 914-200-0269. I had this article about the resegregation of American schools, but it's not time consuming, and I can just as easily do it another night. But I thought that in itself was really something else, and I think I'm going to do that another night. Not time consuming, and I don't want to muddy the waters here. We've got some good cohesion with all of the mixed topics, time, culture, older generations, memories. So let's just keep it there. And with that, I don't know. I guess that's all I have. Because I remember I was planning for a short show. We can take one or two more calls. I guess we can do that. 310, you're on the air. Welcome to the show. How you been?
Frank, how are you? It's Veles.
Who's it?
It's Veles.
Oh, Veles. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, brother. I know I said I wasn't going to call, but I found a minute. I'm calling.
Well, hey, it's great to have you on. So this is the first time you've just called in just for the hell of it?
Outside of the first time I called in about a year or so ago, but yeah. No, a couple things I wanted to weigh in on, including that King Charles portrait.
Yeah.
Holy God, because we did a segment on Rogue about did you see this? The two horses a couple weeks ago that broke free from the royal. Forgive me, I can't even think of the word for it. Where you keep horses, the barn where they went running through London.
Absolutely.
There was a black horse
there was a black horse. There was a white horse. The white horse had what it looked to be blood on it, but it couldn't have actually been blood, was it?
I saw close-ups. It had cut, or its leg had been cut, or it cut its leg somehow when it got free of the stable. There's the word I'm looking for. But then the other thing that happened that same week was this thing about Big Ben, where it stopped working at 9 a.m. and then around 11 a.m. it started working again, and then when it hit the clock hands hit 10, it chimed 11 times. So you had 9/11 out of Big Ben the same week the horses broke free, and now we've got King Charles looking like Emperor Palpatine.
Dude, it's
and of course the symbolism and the ritual, as we've been chattering on recently on Rogue, is that's no joke, and that's by design. Of course, what it all means, who knows? But anyhow,
dude, and I know that there is a very specific crimson kind of a tone to all this, aside from the hands and the face. But like I said, it's like Vigo the Carpathian. It just feels.
I love that reference.
Yeah, it feels. I don't know. It feels very weird what's been going on out there with the royals ever since the alleged disappearance of the other ones in December. It's only been weirder and weirder.
Well, and the future king's wife, she's almost like David Mistevage's wife over there at Scientology. Nobody has seen her. She's out there somewhere, the princess. But yeah, well, and I mean, God Almighty, the black satin fabric they had over the painting before Charles, with the red sash on it. Before, I mean, my God, that's straight out of the Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp.
I know.
It is some freaky stuff, but yeah. And as you and I were chatting via email, we're going to be running a segment on Friday's program about some oddities concerning the recent Aurora activity.
Let me ask you about this. First of all, how's everything going over there? For the people that aren't putting two and two together, this is Veles from Rogue News. It's been a while since we've talked to him, and he just popped up tonight. And I wish you would do it more. But how's everything going over there with Rogue and all the guys?
Oh, we're good. We're keeping the faith on our side of the alternative spectrum. We've had some updates to the website, and admittedly, it's slow going, but we're trying to get some tweaks in that regard. But like our colleague Gus Demos, he's completely moved his investment company and stuff down to Argentina and El Salvador, and Matthew Eric continues to do his more erudite work there out of Canada. But Algo and V continue to delve heavily into the economy and investing and things like that. And I've been trying to include a little bit more content of late on, advice or things people can take into consideration about their personal lives. One I'll quickly throw out there is just a reminder, everybody, the refrigerant in your home, which is R4110 or 410, the EPA is going to start banning that stuff this January. So if you've got a home air conditioning system or a small business that uses that stuff or what have you, now would be a good time to go get that charged.
You know what? Wait a second. My neighbor, I was talking to my neighbor maybe about 2 weeks ago. I was outside and he was talking with this HVAC guy, and he told me that something along those lines, that something was getting banned. And that he was the HVAC guy was going to quickly go and see if he can find some old units that have enough there to get a charge into his current system while he can still do it, because it's all going to be done away with. Or it didn't really click for me. I heard it's just hey, they're moving away from one thing to the next. But what's the deal with the old stuff? What's the conspiracy here?
Well, it kind of goes back to, and the thing I'll cover on my segment with our audience this week is back in the day when like all of us, we were working our way to get wherever we are today. I worked in car parts stores and stuff when I was in college, and I was there when the cooling refrigerant known as R12 was discontinued for cars, and we started using 134A, which caused a big problem for a lot of people because they couldn't maintain the AC systems on their cars anymore. And at that time, there was a switch out. Back then, it was the focus was CFCs, fluorocarbons. Now, they flipped it into the 2020 legislation that was called the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act, aka AIM, about 4 years or so ago. which has a 15-year phase down of hydrofluorocarbons, which were the replacement refrigerants. So 410A, refrigerant 410A, people have known it's going to be grandfathered out, but it's this January, it's like verboten. You can't get any more. And they're going to replace it with a refrigerant known as A2L, or Alpha 2 Lima. And of course, this is all in the name of global warming. Of course, what's amusing about A2L is, unlike the prior refrigerants, this stuff is slightly flammable. I'm saying that with some sarcasm. So what this means is now for buildings and other structures that are using the new refrigerant, and you might be installing a new HVAC system, for your homes or whatever, in years to come, you've got to have your house evaluated, especially against your building codes, because the new refrigerant is somewhat explosive. So they've got to make sure
it's somewhat you say explosive, and they have to make sure that your house is what, fire retardant.
Well, that the standards and building codes, the way I've read it in my read of it is they're more, which equally opens the door to a problem, but they're more concerned about building codes for like businesses and things. But I would still think, especially for like folks such as yourself living on the East Coast, where homes and structures are a little closer together, and you don't have the wide open spaces we have out here in the Midwest or down south. If there's not a lot of air circulation around your closet where your HVAC system is, your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning unit, I would assume at some point somebody somewhere is going to say, hey, look, we're going to have to install like an air pump to keep the air moving in the room where you keep your HVAC unit, just in case the system should start leaking any of this slightly flammable new refrigerant.
No, well, okay. Well, so we can see that one coming down the pike there with the refrigerant. I want to because we have about 9 minutes left here for tonight's show. It's a little bit shorter, and since you're a surprise guest now, let me ask you about the auroras and all that stuff there. I'm going to have Ben Davidson on the show again in maybe about 2 weeks. And he is of the opinion, actually, it's a staunch conviction. He's of the conviction that what we're seeing here is very disturbing for one main reason: that the solar storms we have gone through, or have experienced over the last week, they are strong, but we have seen much stronger even in the recent past. And that the bigger concerning thing here, the telltale sign that we're really in trouble, is that we as a planet have obviously we're experiencing a rapidly diminishing magnetic defense against this stuff. So we're seeing reaction, the auroras and all that stuff, reaction that you would expect with a stronger magnetic defense of the planet, that these reactions wouldn't even be that big. That what we're seeing right now over the last week is actually a telltale sign of how quickly we are to a magnetic pole reversal or a pole shift.
Right.
Are you of the same camp?
I would concur to a point with where Ben is going with that. I do not know him. I've actually been subscribed to his Suspicious Observers page for quite some time. There's a lot of folks. Frank, just lay on two coins in the pond. There's a lot of folks who've been researching this one for a long time, even folks that are into the alternative history angle, if you will, prior to the last ice age and so on. And there was a researcher, and I apologize because I gave my copy of the book to V, my colleague, because his wife is into this stuff too. There's a former NASA engineer that very much, the cool calculus of mathematics. He wrote a book a couple of years ago that absolutely blew my doors off on this topic of the pole shift. And very, very loosely put, and just getting to the point, what this guy did was he said, depending on whenever one of these shifts have occurred, and I mean the way ancient past, like from what this researcher believed all the way back to 150,000 years ago or more, that many of the ancient sites around the world that we know of were actually built in phases after each of these shifts. And he said the problem in the alternative science community was, because again, it's kind of an iterative thing. We go through time, we come up with new theories. In the beginning, everybody looked at those sites and said, oh, they were all built after the last ice age for various purposes and so on. His comment was, you're not going far enough. That you're basing that based on what the solar system looks like and what the constellations look like at a certain time in history, and it all kind of aligns with 10, 15,000 years ago. His comment is, you're not going far enough, because if you actually look at these sites, most of them, the opening to the main temples and so on, are aligned to where magnetic north was at that time. And so he's broken it down into 5 cycles, which blew my mind when I first read this guy's book, because I thought, God, a typical engineer, he's so dialed into the mathematics, he's not even aware of like the folks that have tried to tie together the Mayan and Aztec 5 eras of mankind or what have you. The work that particular NASA engineer did just aligned, I don't want to say perfectly, but it aligned quite well with that particular angle of looking at it more from the impact of the sun on the Earth and shifts in where magnetic, I won't even say magnetic north is, but where the magnetic pole is on the Earth. So yeah, there's a lot there.
Wait. What did his math put us directly in the shift zone? Because Ben would say that he believes that we may be somewhere between 15 and 30 years away from a major reshuffling of what the Earth looks like.
I would tell you, based on who you read, this is like the old joke about I'm a person who predicts the future, and I have a new book coming out that the end of the world is coming. It's like, then why are you writing a book? There are folks out there who think it might be as close as 5 to 10 years.
Gee, come on! Give me like 150 or something. I was looking for a little bit
Let me check out before I got to deal with this right now.
Jeez, it's not even like a cop out at this point where you're just like, oh well, you know what? There's a problem and you're running away from it. It's like, this is nothing I can fix. If this is really happening, I just at least
that's the challenge. And as I shared with you when you and I were talking offline, the one of the folks I was listening to earlier this week had pointed out that when it comes to, take it as an example for all of you in the audience, when you think of Puerto Rico saw the auroras last week from the solar activity. Puerto Rico has been, in the last 100 years, has seen the auroras 3 times: in 1921, in 2003, and then most recently in 2024. The difference is that in 1921 and in 2003, the level of energy output from the sun was much higher than it is this time. So that's where various researchers are saying, well, the only way you could explain that then is the magnetic shield has gotten weaker.
Yeah.
The question is the weakness in the shield a short-term thing, or will it continue to weaken while the Earth goes through this change? That's kind of the unknown. And this math is not my thing, as I often joke with my audience, and this is one of those things where you need the real heavy double PhDs with no interpersonal skills and supercomputers, because the sun is actually quite predictable, but we're dealing with periods of time that are so long as human beings, it's a little hard for us to get our head around it. And I will say the gentleman I mentioned earlier, in fact, I'll put his book out there on Gilded after you and I hang up. But the guy who wrote the book before, there wasn't a real easy, like, oh, it's every 40,000 years. I mean, it was nothing like that. It's like on one occasion it was 400,000 years, on another occasion it was 150,000 years ago, and so on.
Okay.
So it's just hard to know unless people a lot smarter than me with the right kind of equipment can calculate that stuff out. But yeah, we're looking at some heavy stuff, and the other takeaway for all of you in the audience is, this is where, I mean, this is my angle that I'm going to share with my audience this Friday, is this is why all of a sudden the world's elites were jumping all over their PSYOPs tools via the internet and so on, to try and throw the idea into people's minds, oh, well, HAARP was doing, HAARP was doing stuff, and that's why you saw the auroras. That's them actually trying to calm people down by believing they're in control of
I was
anything.
thinking the same thing. I for longer than a moment, I was thinking the same thing, because it's just, whenever I see people from, it's one of those things where it's just to be contrarian at all points. That is the only way that you can be, part of, some truth movement or whatever. There is just a large amount of people who are willing and ready to be contrarian at all points because they want to feel like everybody else is stupid and they just don't see the forest for the trees. But it can't be that way all the time. And I could see how this could be a way to, really psychologically screw with somebody where, you're so discerning that all of a sudden you've lost your ability to detect what is possible again because you've self-limited based on what your biases are against any kind of mainstream science and shit like that. But you know what, Veles, you gave me a lot to think about there, and hopefully we can get Rain Man to do the math, and that's we'll wait until that all happens again. Thank you for surprising us tonight. We've got to do an official segment again. I don't think you've been on. Were you on in 2023 at all?
Oh yeah, I was on with you once last year. I thought we had a pretty good segment on that one, and then still need to get the program where V and myself can both be on your program, and then we can have you as a guest back on Rogue News again.
Yeah, we got to do it again. I want you and V back on, and or on period, because you've been on a few times and he hasn't been on at all. But we got to do that, man. I always appreciate talking to you. And put that in the Gilded. We got some new members on Gilded today because I've been trying to advertise. I want to get the Gilded up to 1,000 members, and we're climbing toward 800. So get all that in Gilded so everybody can check it out. And thanks for the call, brother.
Absolutely. All the best.
All right. Take care. There is Veles from Rogue News. How nice. And he'll be over here in the Gilded chat for you guys and gals. All right, let's see what people are saying, and then we are really kicking off. That was a nice way to get me to 8:30. Didn't even expect it. Didn't expect it. Thank you, Porpoiseful. Thank you, Good Dog 45, and thank you, Sean Joe. Those are the latest gold pills that have come in. I'm going to release the scratching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Let me see. Anything else? No. There, everybody's take care. Out. There is Veles from. Shut up. Shut up. That's it. Okay, we've done everything. All housekeeping is done. Send me an email, quitefranklypodcast@gmail.com or frank@quitefrankly.tv or quitefranklypodcast@protonmail.com. There's some people who prefer Proton Mail, so I made sure I have that. I check it from time to time. It's I'm a lot less on top of it than the Gmail and everything else, but see you tomorrow night. Got Kathy O'Brien coming back for a little bit of a talk, and we'll see what we'll fill in the rest of the time. And I hope to get you guys involved as well. It's been good. It's been nice. Good night, everybody. Take care.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience, and now our super chatter, starting with Cody, Jay Britz, and to 925 Wild G, our sole Rumble Ranter. Thank you to all of my wonderful gold pillars. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Take care.
A kitty cat.
You're a kitty cat?
Your turn.
Hello. I'm a kitty cat as well.